Hello, I'm Oliver Colling, and this is the My 70s TV Childhood quiz. Hello, and welcome back to Podcastland's favourite 1970s UK trivia-related fortnightly quiz. That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Anyway, welcome back to our special quiz. We are the sister podcast of My 70s TV Childhood, a podcast where we celebrate what it was like growing up as a child in the UK during the 1970s and the important role that television played in our lives back then. Thanks for all of you who've been in touch since our last quiz, and it seems many of you are back to high scores again, so perhaps I've become a bit soft with my questions in my old age. Let's see how you get on today. If you do want to get in touch on any aspect of the quiz, then you can email quiz@my70stvchildhood.com or leave a comment on our blog at www.my70stvchildhood.com. And we're also on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn and Twitter/X. So do get in touch. So without further ado, on to our quiz. As usual, I'll be asking 20 questions over 4 rounds of 5 questions each. It is just for fun, but do take any chance you can to become competitive with your friends and loved ones. There is nothing like winning bragging rights over those closest to you. So grab a pen and paper and your favourite beverage. It's tea for me today. And let's begin with round 1. And this is a round called Postgate Posers. And all the questions are about the legendary animator Oliver Postgate, who is responsible for so many marvellous TV shows from our childhood. Question 1. Who did Oliver Postgate set up Smallfilms with? And that was his production company. Question 2. One of my earliest TV memories is of Pogles Wood. Who lived with Mr. and Mrs. Pogle? So who lived in the same house as Mr. and Mrs. Pogle? Question 3. As many of you remember, Bagpuss came along in 1974. How many episodes were made of the show? So how many episodes of Bagpuss were there ever made? And question 4. Moving on to the Clangers. What was the name of the dragon in the Clangers? What was the dragon called? And question 5. In 1979, Postgate's show What a Mess was broadcast on BBC One. Who wrote the books on which the show was based? So who wrote the original What a Mess stories? That shouldn't be too tricky, I don't think, so perhaps we need to make the next few rounds a bit more difficult. Let's go on to round 2. And this is our marathon or Fil Rouge round, so named because it's a regular recurring quiz which asks questions about previous episodes of our podcast. If you're a listener to our podcast, you may have a slight advantage, but if you're not, then don't worry. Question 1. Superstars featured in June of this year when we look back at the iconic show. Who was the judoka, that means judo player, on the show who became legendary for his dips on the parallel bars? So who was the man on the parallel bars doing all those dips? Question 2. In April 2024, we featured Record Breakers. Which host of the show broke the world speed tap dancing record on the programme? Question 3. November 2023 saw us discussing the comedians, the Wheel Tappers and Shunters Social Club and working men's clubs in general. Paul Simon, the American singer, wrote his famous song Homeward Bound while sitting on which station after performing in a working man's club? Question 4. In August of this year we chatted to Nina Saville, who played one of the secretaries in Are You Being Served? Whose secretary did Nina play? So whose secretary was she? And question 5. The Goodies featured in January 2024. As well as the TV show, they had a number of hit records. But which was the song that got to number 4 in the UK charts in 1974? And we are halfway through already, so I hope you're doing okay so far. If not, then perhaps it's time to press pause, fill up on your favourite beverage and gear up for the second half. And round 3 is our famous Spin the Wheel and Name That Tune round, where I spin our specially constructed Wheel of Fate to select a year from the 1970s which I will then input into our state-of-the-art AI-powered theme tune generator, which will select 5 theme tunes from shows which were first shown on UK TV in that year. Sounds complicated? Not really. Okay, let's spin the wheel. And it's landed on 1970. Gosh, that's an incredible 55 years ago. Okay, let me input that into our AI-powered theme tune generator and see what we get. Okay, and let's begin with theme tune 1. And how about theme tune 2? Love that show, and what a theme. Hopefully most of you got that one. And on to theme tune 3. That's another well-known one there, so I suspect theme tune 4 is well known to some of you. This programme has been mentioned by lots of listeners, so it might be the subject of a future episode. And finally, here's one we have had before in our theme tune round, but it's none the worse for that. Groovy, man. Okay, so on to our last round already. And this is our TV Times round, where anything goes 70s TV trivia-wise. Question 1. The Inspector was a cartoon series which featured as the middle segments in episodes of which cartoon show? Question 2. In 1979, ITV showed the series Thomas and Sarah with John Alderton and Pauline Collins. It was a spin-off from which popular TV show? Question 3. In which year did John Pertwee make his final appearance as Doctor Who? And question 4. Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man, in the show of the same name, had various bionic adjustments. What were they? So tell me what bionic parts he had. And question 5. In which UK city was the detective show Shoestring set? And there we are, another 20 questions done and dusted. I'll give you a few seconds to check your answers, and whilst I do that, I'll give you the answer to last time's bonus question. I asked, in the US TV show Alias Smith and Jones, what were the real names of Mr. Smith and Mr. Jones? And the answer was Jedediah Kid Curry and Hannibal Hayes. Although if you said Kid Curry without the Jedediah, then I think that's fine. Well done if you got that right. This week's bonus question is a slightly odd one. Which 1966 film was banned from being aired on UK TV due to concerns about children copying dangerous behaviour until it was first shown on ITV in 1972? If you know the answer, then let me know by dropping an email to quiz@my70stvchildhood.com. Right, let's move on to this week's answers. So our first round, Postgate Posers. Who did Oliver Postgate set up Smallfilms with? And that was Peter Firmin. Question 2. Who lived with Mr. and Mrs. Pogle in Pogles Wood? And I know it wasn't made in the 70s, but it was shown in the 70s. So before any complaints come in. The Pogles lived with their adopted son Pippin and Tog, who, well, I think he might have been a squirrel, but it was never quite spelt out. Question 3. How many episodes were made of Bagpuss? Well, there were only ever 13 episodes in one series, although this week plans have been announced to bring Bagpuss back, which I'm not sure is a good idea. Question 4. What was the name of the dragon in the Clangers? And the dragon was called the Soup Dragon. Question 5. Who wrote the books on which the Postgate show What a Mess was based? And it was Frank Muir who wrote the books. All right, on to our next round, our Fil Rouge round. Who was the legendary judoka who was very, very good at those dips on the parallel bars? That was Brian Jacks. Question 2. Which host of Record Breakers broke the world's speed tap dancing record on the programme? That was the legendary Roy Castle. Question 3. Paul Simon was on his way back from a working men's club when he was stuck on a station and wrote the song Homeward Bound. Which station was it? And the station was Widnes. And there is a little plaque on the station if you ever visit Widnes Station to mark the event. Question 4. Nina Saville, who we chatted to in August, was one of the secretaries in Are You Being Served? But whose secretary was she? Well, she was Mr. Rumbold's secretary. If you said young Mr. Grace, it's good, but it's not right, as Roy Walker once said. And question 5. Which Goodies record got to number 4 in the UK charts in 1974? That was The Funky Gibbon. Right, on to our theme tune round. Theme tune 1. This was the theme tune to Ace of Wands, which was a sort of, I guess, a wizardry and witch type thing. Sort of a precursor of Harry Potter in a way, maybe. Theme tune 2, that was the theme tune to Screen Test with the great Michael Rodd. And theme tune 3, another legendary programme. I'm sure lots of you got this. That was Cat Weasel. Theme tune 4, as I say, this has provoked a lot of listeners getting in touch this programme. And that was the theme tune to Doomwatch, which some of you remember very fondly. And finally, the groovy theme tune, and theme tune 5, that was the theme tune to UFO. All right, and on to our TV Times round. The Inspector was a cartoon series, featured as a middle segment in episodes of which cartoon show? Well, that was the Pink Panther Show. Question 2. Thomas and Sarah was a spin-off from which popular TV show? It was a spin-off from Upstairs, Downstairs. Question 3. In which year did John Pertwee make his final appearance as Doctor Who? And the answer was 1974. Now, I think he may have appeared in sort of specials or something later on as Doctor Who, but that was his last regular role as Doctor Who, in case anybody's arguing. Question 4. Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man, what bionic bits did he have? Well, he had a bionic eye, 2 bionic legs, and a bionic right arm. There we go. $6 million. Well worth it. And question 5, in which UK city was Shoestring set? And that was set in Bristol. So how have you got on? Are you on top of the world, looking down on creation, as the Carpenters once sang? Or are you way on down, as Elvis the King crooned? Whichever, I do hope you've enjoyed our quiz. And if you have enjoyed it, then do tell your friends. And it would also mean a lot to us if you liked, rated and reviewed us wherever you get your podcasts. Well, that's it for this week. We will return with our next podcast episode in a week's time, and we'll be back with a quiz in a fortnight. Until then, have a great week, and join us again soon for more from My 70s TV Childhood and the My 70s TV Childhood Quiz.